Hey, welcome to Scry-fi. We're here talking about Ahsoka episode 7. And what was it called? Death and Taxes, or I forget what Dreams and Madness.
Dreams and Madness.
Dreams and Madness, right.
And came from a phrase that Baylan said in the previous episode about this being a place of dreams and madness.
Yeah, I barely remember that. It's a little awkwardly done because I don't see dreams and madness happening in this episode. I thought it was a great.
Well, they are talking about stuff that Baylan keeps saying is from old fairy tales.
Sure.
So apparently, but we don't know those fairy tales, so that's why we just see a planet with some wolf things and turtle things, and okay.
Yeah, like little turtle puppets and stuff like that, and
yeah.
But yeah, so we didn't have Mike with us last week. So anything
back.
You want to say about last week that you didn't get to say last time?
I liked last week's episode better than this week's episode.
Really?
Yeah, I think a lot of people might feel that way. I could see that.
It was a good episode.
I liked this episode. I really did. But last week and the week before that were two of the best of the season.
Yeah, we talked about like every episode was better and better each time. So at some point, it has to kind of dip a little bit before it.
Well, this is the penultimate episode, the one right before the final. So it's almost like they had to kind of set up certain things,
It could have stayed there, though, right? Like better. It didn't have to come back. It could have.
As we get into it, I'll talk about what I think is some of the things that were not as good as they could have been that I wish they had done. No. But it's particular to the
like that.
plot
points. I liked it all the way through. Probably
I didn't have any specific complaints. I just, when I look back and I think about how I felt about the thing overall, I was just really much more blown away by the last.
I found some nuanced stuff when I went back and watched it and took the screen caps that were going to show and stuff. I found some nuanced stuff that I really liked.
There were some great things in this one, though, that I did like. I mean, I guess maybe we're getting spoiled. It's just been so good,
Yeah, 5 and 6, episodes 5 and 6 could spoil you. Yeah.
I had to watch the beginning of this one, the first, 15, 20 minutes of this one twice because of a certain child not letting me watch it. And I really did. I liked it. I'm not saying it was a bad episode. And I think one of my favorite moments so far came from this episode. But it just, I don't know. There were a couple of things, like there was definitely one thing glaring that I wish they would have done. And then otherwise it was a good episode.
That's interesting. Oh, okay, well, let's get into it because I couldn't think of anything like that. So clearly you're wrong. Let's find out.
Okay. I'll put myself right when the time comes.
Okay, so first, right there.
Yeah.
That symbol on the building. That was the old symbol in the Senate in the Old Republic. And the little staff that the blue guy, assistant to the Emperor, Masameda, isn't that his name? He had a staff with that symbol on it too, and it was also on the little thing where the Chancellor would stand. But I think that symbol might have gone away after the Emperor became the Emperor.
I think it's interesting. Well, especially once he dissolved the Senate, right? I think it's interesting that above all other times, like every time we go to Coruscant, I feel like I know the mood I'm about to step into because they're showing it either daytime or nighttime.
Mm-hmm. And do we really know that this is Coruscant? Could it be Chandrilla?
No, because it would have to be Coruscant because though Chandrilla probably looks similar to this because it's all city too. But they said that they were recalling Hera back to Coruscant last episode.
Oh, right. Maybe that's where Senator Organa is. Chandrilla.
Maybe.
Because I believe Chandrilla is supposed to be the capital.
Well, there's also the I've read that they move the capital every now.
Yeah, I just think that right now it's
right now
it's move in its course that's what it's supposed to be right now. Is Chandrila, at least from the books. But maybe they thought it'd be too confusing in a show if you can't explain everything, and that the audience knows what Coruscant is. Probably more of the
Well,
audience.
and also, we don't go to. Okay, so the next scene, we don't go to the Senate. This is more of a courtroom, or kind of like whenever there's U.S. Whenever there's someone appearing.
Yeah, it'd be like if you were in a federal building in New York or something, instead of Washington D.C.
I agree with Chris. I think they preface this by saying that she was being recalled to Coruscant.
Oh, okay.
I do have to say, now that you've pointed it out, that alien race that's second from the right on the screen right now, I can't unsee them. It's almost as if every scene I'm looking for Waldo now, and they're always popping up.
Oh, you're talking about Ishi Tib?
Yeah.
Because I actually don't think that's an Ishi Tib. I don't know, but it's something very similar.
Oh, okay.
But I think I've seen that before somewhere else.
It could be initiative, but I think I know what you're thinking too. And
it's kind of blurry right now, but I think it's some other thing that I'm thinking.
Okay.
But what was really cool is seeing Admiral Akbar again.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I guess we assume that's Admiral Akbar. He's wearing an admiral's outfit.
That same white outfit. Yeah. It's the same colors. I'm pretty sure that's Admiral Akbar.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was neat. Looking at the back and forth, and Hera being Hera again, and Mon Mothma.
I like the little.
He's getting into it. This was a really cool scene.
I like their dress uniforms. The generals. Yeah. What's his face wears too when he walks in.
Yeah.
This dude is totally sus.
Yep.
Hate this guy.
The logic he was using, it seems way overboard. He's trying to protect the Empire, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was too forward, too aggressive.
Yeah, it's like
doesn't know how to be a traitor that just talks too much, and you're like, well, you're just.
Yeah, it's exactly like those games with the traitor. I was going to say that, yeah. And I could believe some people falling for some of his arguments, but he just went too far, like you said, in pushing. It was really suspicious.
And then he went to court-martial, like immediately escalated, and I was like, wait a minute, come on, man.
This is something cool too. Admiral Akbar, he's wearing blue dots because that's Navy. Red dots is Army.
I love seeing him again. Yeah, that little smirk right there.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to see her in person too, not just hologram.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, that's whenever Hera's like, oh, I listen to orders. I just don't listen to yours. And she's like, trying not to show amusement. Yeah, see, he's got the same. Carson's got the same thing. That's a cool
very cool room design too. I like that decor on the walls and stuff.
This was the cool moment where he was like, wait a minute, what about all the stuff that happened on Mandalore?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool that it's connected to the Mandalorian.
And he was like, we didn't see their little scene in the talking with the other holograms. We only, only the audience saw that.
This little moment is really important because a lot of people have been debating about what time period this happens in exactly.
I think it's all sequential. Like, you know what I mean? I think everything we're seeing is in order.
I think now we're for certain that this definitely happens after season 3 of Mandalorian, because otherwise he couldn't say what just happened, right?
Yeah, they brought up Gideon specifically and how he was a rogue agent or whatever and had nothing to do with it. It was really smart.
Cool.
But then there it is. There it is.
Yeah, C-3PO.
I did not expect this at all.
Nope.
Yeah.
This was great.
And this led to one of my favorite moments in this episode. I can't say series, but it's up there in the series when he starts talking in a little bit.
Now, I will say, like, the minute she knows who he is, she stands. Like, there's respect for a droid, which is like, big deal. Really big deal.
Well, I mean,
plus she's
been in every episode, right? They've been in everything.
Oh, sure. But I mean, I imagine someone like Mon Mothma knows every detail of every mission that happened to get them to where they are,
Here?
and knows all the stuff that happened.
She knows he was one of the droids that got the Death Star plans to the rebels.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably true. And plus, he's the official attaché of Senator Organa, who obviously pulls a lot more weight than her official position. Because it sounds like they said she was the
leader,
basically the equivalent of the Secretary of Defense. Yeah, they had a different term, but it's that you could tell that's what that position
something
was.
of defense. Yeah.
So, as a little discussion point, and we've heard her twice now. We've heard her name mentioned twice now. The Empire's fallen, right? When is it known that Anakin is Vader, and when is it known that she is the daughter? Because that's when she gets chased out of the Senate, right?
Right.
Well,
she getting known as the daughter happens in the Aftermath books, and that happens much later than this.
Okay.
Now,
Right.
I don't know if those books. I know that books are canon, but they're canon until they're not. That's the thing about canon. So I
think they generally try to follow them, but no guarantees. Basically,
it's just like the Ahsoka book. There's a few things in that has been kind of trumped by what's been on screen now.
Okay.
But
because that's when she becomes she goes out and she's the general of the whatever. And I know there's a moment, I just don't know when. And if it's in a book, I haven't read it. So
now, officially, what Disney said was that when they established their new canon, they had this Lucasfilm story group that was going to keep everything consistent. There wasn't going to be different levels of canon; they were just canon. But Dave Filoni, being Lucas's apprentice, kind of took on Lucas's attitude about the books. I think. At least that's what I think we're seeing. And, you take the good with the bad. Filoni's been such a blessing to Star Wars that I kind of say, okay, well.
Yeah.
I just accept it if that's what he wants.
Filoni is canon. Is what I'm saying.
Do you think Leia is going to make an appearance?
If she does, I would imagine maybe like a hologram to make it less. Because here's the thing, it's one thing to do Luke Skywalker young because, Mark Hamill's still alive and all this stuff. It's a little bit different to bring in an actor. I know she was in there in Rogue One just a little bit, but to really pull off a scene and stuff like that.
Yeah, I kind of doubt it for those meta reasons too.
Yeah. Yeah. Him going, oh, Leia's got this covered kind of thing. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
and notice the data thing he's holding in his hand is the same kind of one that was inserted into R2, and that we also saw in Andor in a few close-ups. I like Chopper,
this is where he's like, "Are we supposed to listen to a mere droid?" And Chopper's like,
that when he said, because you remember I talked about how you understand Chopper at this point because of just listening to him for how many years, right? When he said he's like dropping shit, going what, like he wants to attack him.
I think he says what, and then you hear him go
and then he growls. But he says what? I wish there was a little more. Remember I talked about his animation and him being more exuberant. Like I wish his hands had come out and done something, because you hear him say what, and it escalates, and then he growls at the guy, and Carson's like, hold on, and that's even kind of the one-handed. There should have been a little more aggression from Chopper at that point, but that was one of my favorite moments. And you knew as soon as the dude said mere droid, I knew he was going to lose it.
I need to go back and translate that screen back there. That's
I know. I stopped it here just because I thought it was cool in the background, the show. I would guess, based off of what we're looking here, that's
the lower right of the galaxy.
Yeah, this area would probably be about where Kashyyyk is. So Coruscant is up here.
No, Coruscant
around here.
There's the circle right there in the upper left. So Coruscant would actually just be on the top of that circle.
Yeah, right about here. If the circle continued,
And then that white circle that's highlighted, I wonder what planet that would be.
I would guess that's Dinan. Could be Dinan or Corellia.
I'm looking at a galaxy map now, and it looks like maybe Dintal. That's
Why would it be
directly
Yeah, that's
below.
pretty close to the center. That's interesting, anyway.
Why would it be highlighted though?
Yeah.
Well, maybe some kind of news story is popping up right here for them.
It could be Hosnian Prime, but it's not actually exactly where it should be. It
There's
looks like it might
also-
also be Fondor.
Well, also
Oh.
notice that there's red lines and blue lines here, and then there's all these red lines and blue lines. I wonder if it's tracking voting, and the
Oh.
red lines are no and blue is yes.
There are different political parties.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's a good call, Chris.
And red and blue would be
Yeah,
way to
because those
indicate
could be
them.
sectors that have
Mhm.
votes and something. It's interesting.
It's like a newer way of drawing the sectors. There's the
Yeah.
old way, which is more irregular shaped, and then they have these new things. But
So when I first saw that, I was so happy to see C3PO, but I was also kind of worried, like, please don't let this whole episode just happen on Coruscant. And
oh, I know. When they started out there
Yeah.
too, I was afraid they
like,
were
send
going
me
to do that.
back, send me it. So whenever it pops up here after the title sequence, I'm like, oh, good, okay, we're back here and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
this was
pretty cool.
And once again, in the hologram, Anakin looked great. There was nothing weird looking about his face. No uncanny valley. I thought he just really came off as really good age effect.
The lines that he spoke in this one, and how poignant was it to say, like, this was the last one he made for her, right?
Yeah.
The lines were used in one of the trailers. So all those people,
Oh.
like, you knew, unless they were going to dump it, you knew you were going to see him at least one more time, because there were things he said. Like, I know you can do this, Ahsoka. Like, a lot of those lines were in one of the trailers that hadn't come out yet. And to have it be this way.
I didn't watch the trailer past that point.
I'm glad I don't do that either. But sometimes things do appear in the trailers that they don't end up using too. So.
Right, they end up on the cutting room floor or whatever. But it was nice to see, and that little box that she has with all the little hologram things in it, like that. There you go.
I want to see the others. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I know. She said 20 more. I think
there are 20 of them. That was the last one that he made.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I was trying to look at what's in this. What else is in this little closet area, and it looks like you got the little droids that shoot a little shock at and then just off to the side above her head, those are the four things that Hu Yang was using before, where Sabine was slicing into them. But just below that, are those lightsabers?
Could be like training lightsabers. Maybe they only have stun.
Might be really nice to throw a lightsaber Ezra's way.
Oh, we'll be talking about that in a minute.
Yeah, this section right here, so they're still in the well, and she's like messing with him, and he's like, "I don't think this was a good idea." And she's like, "Why didn't you say so?" He's like, "I did," and she's like smirking at him and everything.
He is visibly frustrated, like not only in the animatronics of what he is, but even in his vernacular. Like, she's pissed him off, and he's supposed to be like this, centuries old, thousands of years old droid that has seen so much shit. And she's just got him right there in that moment.
Well, just that a droid can get to that point where he stops and goes, "Oh, I see you're messing with me." That shows how sophisticated he is as a droid. And also, we talked about the voice being cool and Dave Tennant and all that, but the puppeteering of this physical droid is awesome too.
They've done really, really well with him. And I just love the relationship between them. It's great. You can tell they've spent years together. They have all this history and stuff. I mean, I like that she's like, "Oh, I think the odds are good." And he's like, No, they're awful. Astronomically horrible.
Yeah, his personality in this. Tennant's doing a great job, but the way that they're doing this, it's great.
There was another line that he spoke in this that came directly from Empire Strikes Back, I think. And it was something like, "We're going to get clobbered if we stay out here," or...
whenever they go into the minefield. Whenever they go into the debris.
I can't remember exactly what the phrase was, but I think it was something C-3PO said about that.
So they've got themselves a big minefield. So talk about resources, though. I mean, I guess if you think about
that ring thing is huge.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think about why did Thrawn put out that minefield? They know that she's going to show up at some point and stuff. But maybe it really was just to drive these whales away because they're already an asset. He doesn't want to mess with whales again, I'm sure.
Well, he said that in the last episode, like if the whales are approaching, like kill them all, like just annihilate them.
Yeah.
He mentioned it.
He knows how bad it is to be involved with those whales.
Oh, and that reminds me of the thing you were just talking about that Hu Yang was referring to when he says, like, we don't even know they're going to the same galaxy.
Yeah,
Right.
or the same planet. I think Thrawn knew the Purgles would show up because he went there with the Purgles. So I think he knows that the Purgles have this lane, right? So, and he is just like, they're probably in his nightmares. So
plus Thrawn is all about being ahead of the game and already anticipating and being prepared.
That board he's using later on.
It makes total sense. And also a Star Destroyer probably would contain enough to lay out a huge minefield over there.
That was massive. This was massive.
I
The
know.
amount of mines that are around that thing. Like, if you think about where they are, where the planet is, and how many, look at that. That's bonkers.
And I doubt it goes all the way around the planet. It's probably just a huge area in front of where the hyperspace lane.
Yeah, Hu Yang says that it someone's laid a Imperial minefield right at the exit point of the hyperspace lane. So
yeah,
I like these mines too. Like first they're dormant, and then when they sense something, the spikes come out, and then it goes towards it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wells were like, enough of this.
Yeah, they got the hell out of there. I'm glad. I really didn't want to see dead Purgles.
I know. I was afraid they were going to kill them and they were all going to die and all this stuff. I'm glad they didn't.
It's like, man, after... Well, I don't want to spoil another movie.
Well, how sad...
There's been another movie recently where something similar happened.
You talked about it last week, but that ring of all the Purgle bones around it, right around the planet, like that's where they go to die. But now, what does this mean? I guess another prediction. They just bounced, right? The Purgles are like, F this, I'm done. Now they're setting you up to think like they're not going to have a way back unless they get, like, if Thrawn's going to go back on that ring, they need to be on that ring, or else there's no pathway back to them.
Well, yeah, I mean, I imagine that the reason why Ezra and even Thrawn couldn't come back is because the Purgles never leave this anymore.
I think that's why they made this the place they come to die, to explain that fact.
Yeah. And the fact that he drives them off here, maybe they just, I mean, if you think about, some other animal that has this kind of drive, maybe they'll come back. Maybe they'll just go pick another place and go, okay.
For all we know, they just jump to the other side of the planet. Or
sure.
Some other place in the star system.
So then they're like trying to get past the minefield, and that was pretty cool. All those mines. Whew.
The scenery.
Once they get past that, this was cool.
This is one of them. The shots that they have in this, the epic nature of what's happening has been like Thrawn Star Destroyer on the everything about these entire episodes has been so cinematic.
I really want to see this all edited together and see it in the movie theater. Yeah. I want to see it on a big screen because some of these scenes are just amazing. And I really think that with all this streaming stuff, I think if you don't stop and think about it, it's easy to miss some of the coolness of these scenes because we're seeing it on such small screens now.
This really feels kind of a Death Star moment, right?
Yep.
Like it's mimicking the look of it, kind of coming out of the cloud kind of thing.
We talked about that a couple episodes ago when we first saw the ring, right? You had that ring kind of rising up. It was very Death Star-esque.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the cinematic look of all this stuff. This is something I feel has been kind of missing, even in The Mandalorian, which is an amazing show and stuff. But if you take the screenshots, like I have been on here, you find like they must have had artists like in the like what they did with the original movies and stuff. They would have concept artists create all these scenes, and then sometimes they'd go, okay, this is going to be a scene, and they'd work it to that point. So I think they actually drew a bunch of this stuff ahead of time and going, oh, I want this scene to show up here, and how do we get to that? Really working with concept artists and cinematographers.
It would be cool if they had done in the credits with the concept art like they did with Mandalorian.
Oh yeah,
Mandalorian, yeah. I feel like it's just this, and it's rightfully so because we're going from one galaxy to a totally different galaxy. But these scenes just not only do they seem like Star Wars again, but they are just more epic than what anything late. Even Obi, like nothing has been like this.
Yeah.
It
feels big. It feels, and when you see outside shots, they back way out. And you see the fields go out forever. It feels like a location thing. It just has a real cinematic.
Yeah, like Baylan and Shin on the cliff looking down in a minute. Like everything is just on such a grander scale.
All right, so they chase some of the debris field. I will say this. I'm a little bit over of the I'm going to fly into the debris field and then stick to something and they won't find me.
Well, I mean, there are places to hide. They went and hid,
It keeps getting done, though. I mean, like they did in Empire Strikes Back, obviously. Yeah. But then they did it again in Empire Strikes Back and by sticking to the Star Destroyer.
And episode 2.
Episode 2 with Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, like, all right, I get it, but find a new trick.
Well, I mean, it's space. And so sometimes there's places to hide and sometimes there's not.
Story-wise, it's just like, all right, you're going to do this.
Now, one thing that was cool, though, is that when they find them, they don't really have to hit the ship directly. They just have to start finding there and start disturbing all those bones and everything. It becomes dangerous and they have to leave.
Well, also, I don't know if they were, like, to his point later on, it was just about flushing them out. It wasn't about killing her in the thing. It was just getting them out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you happen to kill them, then you're like, oh, okay, that worked out. But
Sure. But he's more strategic, right? Like, he's okay with it because that wasn't the target. The target is now she's going to go find Sabine and Ezra, and the target is Sabine and Ezra. So now he gets them all together and then kills them rather than if she goes, then they're not, like, and he's relying on Baylan and Shin to find the other two. Like, he's a very, very chess-minded person. It's really good.
Now, this is interesting. How does she have all the Inquisitor information of Ahsoka?
Yeah.
How does she get her hands on that? She was just a prisoner in prison, and now she has this. And
but, if that thing that died had been some former Inquisitor raised from the dead, it could have come along with all kinds of other data and stuff that Inquisitors would have. Could have been boarded its ship.
Yeah, but this sounds like she has a database information. Someone gave her this information.
She's been around a while, you can tell, and she's been involved in a lot of stuff. There could be countless stories that she's come across this stuff. And
we know because of Andor that there are spies on Coruscant, so she must have been in contact with the Shadow Council beforehand.
Nah, it's Palpatine. Palpatine gave her the information.
No, but this part was pretty interesting when he is like, "Oh, General Anakin Skywalker."
Oh, right.
Okay. Oh, yeah, and he was like, "Oh, so I was right. So Ahsoka did survive." Like, yeah.
And now he realizes that they're going to make another move.
Yeah,
they're going to be aggressive. He doesn't need to make something happen. He just needs to force her to take her next step.
Right.
Does Thrawn at this point know Anakin is Darth?
I think he would. Thrawn really dives into who a person is, what their weaknesses are, all of that. I think he would.
I could believe it. There were only a tiny few people in the Empire who knew, and if he was included in them, it totally would not be surprising.
Well, he does. I know he does know because I guess in one of the books, in one of the Thrawn books, modern ones, they talk about it or he finds out or whatever. But at this point, he's worked with Vader before, or he's worked with not Anakin. I guess he's worked with Vader before. It didn't seem like he knew when he found out it was Anakin. I thought there'd be a little bit of like, I don't know, a Darth reference or a Vader reference or something.
I disagree. I think the look on his face made him sound like he knew.
Yeah?
Well, he at least knew that he knew Anakin's strategies of
Yeah.
being
Right.
chaotic and stuff and
Right.
But
forceful.
something tells me that Thrawn's the kind of guy that, oh, Darth Vader is coming here. Who's Darth Vader? Let me look up a little bit. I need to know more because this individual is really powerful,
Right.
and I need to know
Yeah.
everything I can about.
I guess we don't technically know, but it seems likely to me he probably will
Yeah.
as well. But another thing, this reminds me, back when Ahsoka was doing the training with Anakin's hologram earlier in the episode, I was thinking about, like, she probably hasn't broken out those holograms in a long time because the pain of seeing him again, the disappointment of what he became and what he did. But now, since her experience, she's able to separate the two.
Yeah.
And she says Anakin was a good teacher. And now that she's made peace with that, she can go back and gain from those earlier teachings, which she probably couldn't have done before.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, she still had the guilt of what had become, what she
Mhm.
thinks she had helped that whole thing progress. So yeah, she can look at them again from a different perspective.
I like that the little homes are like their little shells and they travel around just like they do. This is fun.
I liked this. Yeah, this was
Cool.
fun. Just more of these cool little creatures. I love them.
I need to get one of those little puppets. Put them back there with my other puppet guy.
Please don't. Please don't. Please don't.
I do think it would be cool to have their Black Series 6-inch figure
Yeah.
of those.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, especially if they could fold up and go, and their shell could go flat onto the ground containing their body.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the little baby's cute.
Uh-huh.
I really like to see them two talking and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's like a nice, comfortable feel. While
I think the
she's
casting and
still
the
keeping a secret.
oh, while she's not revealing the secret.
Yeah.
I think the casting of Ezra and his acting and characterization are all straight on the mark. I feel that that's the
Great
same
casting throughout this whole thing. Yeah,
Agreed.
he's like.
I mean, even
"Wouldn't
the
it be nice to
expressions, facial expressions, and the mannerisms, and of course the writing of his part. Dave Filoni would know how to do that, but
Yep.
Nah, so they got the little. I like that
Yeah.
we didn't even need to see the scene where he convinced them.
Yeah.
Or anything.
it's a no-brainer. You knew that they'd team up.
He just the last episode, he just looked up at him and go like, "Enemy of our enemy, they'll be our friends." And then here they are. He's commanding them.
I like how Hati has the white wolf.
I noticed
that's
that
cool.
too. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
They're pretty cool looking, actually.
Oh, I know.
Those little raiders. That'd be another cool figure to have with the wolf thing that they ride.
I'd want the guy with the helmet to come, the leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
They sound very Tusken Raider-ish.
Yeah, yeah.
They have the
Kinda
same kind of
But they seem more martial or sophisticated. So maybe higher tech.
Yeah, because they're wearing
They
the
seem
armor.
like something out of Visions, like some anime that they use in Visions season 1. But they look like a very
I can see that.
This planet's in this galaxy's Tusken.
Yeah.
They got
the leader guy ends up getting later a case of heartburn.
So this, I really love seeing this because it explains so much to me. So if a space creature dies in space, it's a void, they wouldn't rot. But,
right, there's the little.
So I was like, where's all these bones coming from? But there's all these little space shrimp, and they're sitting there just eating all the little.
Feeding on them.
Yeah,
I totally figured something was feeding on the carcasses.
But I love that they thought of that.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't just go, "Oh, there'll be a big thing of bones and stuff. It's like a boneyard," and everybody went, "Okay." No, somebody went like, "Wait a minute." In space, it wouldn't be a boneyard; it'd just be a bunch of dead bodies floating around, all frozen.
Well, good sci-fi world building and fantasy world building too. You don't design one creature; you design an ecosystem. They all play their roles.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's another level of smartness that's being put into the episodes, right?
Yeah, well, another good level of sci-fi, and this is something that irks me about whenever it gets broken in things, even like superhero movies and stuff, is that there are rules to a universe. And there are rules to the Star Wars universe. You can't just go Force fixes everything. There are rules.
That's not how the Force works.
Right. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I just like seeing, just little things. They didn't even point it out and speaking.
Things that ground things and make it feel lived in. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. I like seeing this. This is pretty cool. Her trying to reach out to Sabine.
Reminded me of Luke reaching out to Leia.
Yeah.
When she started doing that, I thought it was going to be more on the Ben Ray side, where they would all of a sudden come together in the same room or whatever. And I
think that was a special thing because of their dyad connection,
convergence kind of thing, or something. Yeah.
I'm glad it was more of this one than it was.
Although she did say that she could see where she was, so she did have some kind of vision of where she was.
Yeah.
And the fact that she kind of hears it and understands it a little bit, but kind of like Leia did versus,
Well, Leia knew where Luke was too when she got the message.
And this was interesting because they're searching for her at the same time.
So when they use that power, it sends out a flare that they can see.
Yeah,
that's why you lay low when you're in hiding, like Yoda was, and you don't use the Force. Why Luke isolated himself from the Force.
Yeah, I like the balance that they had though, because she was like, I see Sabine, and then it cuts to her and go, I see them. Like they're both searching, and and their little thread of fate thing goes down and finds them exactly.
Now he knows which hex she's in.
That is kind of funny because whenever the hologram of what's his name, Enoch pops up, Captain Enoch pops up, he goes, "You have the coordinates. Start attacking." And I almost expect him to go, "No, I don't. That's just lasers pointing into more lasers. That doesn't give me any coordinates." I assume like computers off to the side.
Interacting with the computers. Yeah.
I'd
be telling them, and stop frowning at me like that. Don't give me that look.
Yeah, he's so angry.
You're making faces at me.
I did like. We'll see him in a little while, but I did like the movement or the I guess real life usage of what are I guess death troopers or fallen troopers. Because when we first introduced them, they looked very like the CGI, the movement was very bad. I initially thought they were doing it on purpose because they were going to be more of the spirits like Merrick, and they were just untrained like Merrick or whatever, or untrained unlike Merrick. But this episode, they were very smooth. They were live action.
I think they're live action. I think they're just dudes in suits.
Yeah, I think the whole thing was live action.
Yeah, except for maybe replicating them when there was a whole bunch of them.
They were very
probably replicating guys in suits though. Also, we've been wondering, what are they? Are they like zombies? Are they? But they, at least we know they don't disappear in a mist when you kill them, because we've seen them die now. But.
Right.
Well, one thing that's interesting is that we know that was it about 13, 14 years since Yavin, since episode 4. Which means it's probably been they've been here about 18 years?
No, it's 9 years. It's it's 11, right? 11 years since Battle of Yavin.
Right, and then so before that,
they disappeared shortly before the Battle of Yavin. Shortly before.
Right. So we're looking at like maybe 15 years of them being stranded here. If they were 25, 20-ish, that makes them pretty old now. They're running around as soldiers and stuff. I mean, not old, but old for being
in their 40s, probably. Yeah.
If Rex can do it.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe they've been, I mean, it's not impossible or anything, but maybe they've been enhanced in some way by the witch's magic.
Yeah, they have to be.
So this is where they start getting hit and they have to get out of there.
But see, they didn't perform any better than stormtroopers. It would have been cooler if they had been surprisingly good or something.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. I hope they answer the question of what the fuck they are, because it is kind of weird. Like, they're held together with the red ribbon all over the place. Like, they look like their armor has just been dilapidated over the amount of time that they've been there. And if you look, and you might have talked about this last time, but if you look at Thrawn, like the Grand Admiral, like he is supposed to be pristine, right? Like stark white, clean edges, like no nonsense. And if you look, you can tell like his uniform is tethered. Like there are marks in it.
There's a little, fraying at the edges. Right. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
It's probably the same uniform that, I don't know, he's got a closet full of them. I don't know how it works, but it's probably just like, do they have like moths on the ship? I don't know what's going on, but you can tell it's weathered. And then they're definitely weathered. Like their uniform, their armor has been like, I don't know what's holding it together. The red indicates the Night Sisters. So I hope
they may have had to fight something when they first arrived.
Possible.
Who knows?
Yeah. Possible.
So this is that scene you were talking about where it's big and wide and you see them off in the distance.
Yeah. And then we get the reverse of it too. We get behind them looking out. It just gives the scope of what's going on. It just makes it so much bigger.
I like you. Like, are these friends? And you're like, no.
This was a really fun scene. I loved seeing the shootout while they're riding alongside the wagons. And
before we get into the shootout, though, this little moment between them where they say goodbye.
This is important. Yeah.
I mean, this was I've never had like bad guys where I cared this much. Oh, not never, but it's so rare that they make bad guys that have relationships.
Like I want to know so much more about them, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they obviously have been together. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it kind of reminded me of the Wilson Fisk character from the Daredevil series where he has a wife and you actually care about that relationship and stuff, even though they're bad guys, you know? Yeah. It's really well done.
Yeah. And they've obviously been together for years, and now he's like, you need to go your separate way. And he's doing the non-attachment thing. It's just like, this is the next thing to happen, you know? And she's like, okay. And then when he tells her here about the impatience, one last teaching, I think that comes into play later in the episode.
Yeah, he says impatience for victory will guarantee defeat.
Yeah. And then he's going on to whatever he needs to go on to.
Yeah, she gives him this look as like, that's the last thing you tell me? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can tell there are things she disagrees with, but she has a great respect for him, so she just accepts it.
I think they epitomize what we've learned about the Jedi is that whole thing that was like, well, from a certain perspective, right? Like they're bad, but from a certain perspective, they think they're right. Like Thanos in the Marvel universe, like from his perspective, he's the good guy. He's trying to do the right thing. And I think if you look at it from their perspective, like they're not necessarily bad guys in this. That's why I think they're not murdering children, right? They're not destroying planets. They're just doing what they think is right for themselves, and I think you can see their point of view a little clearer than some of the other bad guys in the world.
Hey, did she lose her Padawan braid?
No, it's still there.
No,
can you go back to?
Yeah, it's right there.
It's there.
Oh, okay. I just couldn't see it. I was like, wow,
I know for certain it is because during that conversation, I was like, "Are they about to cut the braid or something?"
Oh, that would have been cool. Yeah.
Yeah, she had it in the fight later on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where we get to see the stormtroopers come running out.
Yeah.
They look like they were in pretty good form.
Yeah.
Way better, like,
I mean, they weren't incompetent. They were, they were good soldiers or whatever, but they were about what I would expect from stormtroopers. And so, I guess I expected them to be extra good, But maybe it's just a matter of...
Now they're much older and out of practice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe whatever magic is involved with them was about preservation more than enhancement.
They could also just be the stormtroopers that were on the ship that the Purgles took away with Thrawn and Ezra.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah,
but
so that's what I'm saying is that they were old.
Right.
Have they died and been resurrected? Are they zombie troops? Or are they being helped to be as fit as if they were in their 20s, even though they're in their 40s now?
Yeah, they can't be zombie troops because they would have dissipated like the other ones, right? They already set the precedence of whatever that was going on when
Maybe.
they got cut,
Some of them
when
could
they
be, but-
died,
Yeah.
unless it's the armor piercing and that's what let the thing out. But they got blasted, and a lot of them did get so, and none of that happened.
Yeah, they're
So
definitely not whatever that thing was.
right. I don't think they
Moloch, but they could be some other kind of magically.
I don't think so. I think they've just been through some stuff, and in normal times, if a stormtrooper got injured severely, they'd be like, "All right, well, you're off. Here's your whatever and stuff. You're no longer a stormtrooper." But here, he has to keep them around. He's like,
but also like
my resources, so bandage that thing up and keep going.
Yeah.
I get the sense, though. Can you go back to the picture of them? I get the sense that the red is not a repairing thing. It looks ritualistic to me. I think the gold is a repairing thing. The gold in between the cracks and stuff.
Yeah.
The red to me looks like I'm going to wrap these on you as part of my spell to give you a blessing or a whatever.
Could be.
Yeah, the seam all there's no consistency in it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess maybe
I don't know either. I just hope they answer. I hope it's not there for us to speculate.
There's always way more to this stuff than you could possibly fit in a single narrative.
For sure.
So there go the Raiders, the whatever it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love that he had the. I love that he had this thing.
Yeah.
Well,
he tried.
Yep.
Probably helps to scare away mean animals that come up to their camps.
But but Ezra had one whenever
didn't Ezra have one of those? That's why it was a little nod to.
So I think Ezra made for them.
You think that could be Ezra's?
Yeah, right before this, Ezra says something to them in their language, and he grabs it and shoots.
Okay.
I don't think it was Ezra's, but I think he made it for him and showed him how to do it.
Yeah, it's like he made them all that medallion. I think he just made them a weapon to protect themselves if something were to happen.
Funny.
These Raiders did some pretty cool stuff.
This was a really fun action scene. Riding alongside, shooting at each other. This was like total fun. I also like how well armored those things are.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until they started circling the wagons that I got the imagery of the old Western, and this is a wagon.
I was getting it during these shots with the whole horses getting shot.
I mean, this totally makes sense. It could be an Old West shot, but when they started circling, then I was like, of course. Okay. Wow.
And it totally makes sense with their whole sense of who they are and stuff too, turned into the shell.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. This was a great scene. And then of course Ahsoka's coming down, getting shot at.
Yeah.
And he just starts looking up. He's like, oh.
Because I better do something about that.
Yeah.
Before I leave.
He knows what's happening. Like, okay. Yeah. Didn't expect that. So there's her braid.
Shogun. They look very Shogun-ish, don't they?
Yeah, I like it. I like the style.
There's definitely a thread of Japanese influence throughout this entire series.
Yep.
Well, there's medieval Japanese.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah. Yeah, this
and I think what it is
samurai next to each other.
Yeah. And I think what it is Filoni is leaning hard into the influences that went into Star Wars.
Yeah.
Which, include, Seven Samurai and the Old West and all that stuff.
So this whole scene where she's like, all right, get low, extend the ramp. He's like, not this again, was great.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he missed and he felt bad. You're getting a lot of character development on him in a lot of these little scenes.
Yeah, you see them drop the ramp down. And you know what's about to happen. But this is kind of weird because she's at the top of it and she goes, okay, on my mark, 3, 2, 1, and the stairs collapse into a ramp.
Right.
Couldn't he just make a ramp and she just wait and then do it?
Oh, right.
Why did the stairs have to become a ramp right then?
Yeah.
To reveal.
Yeah, if he's up at the top holding on, it could have just been a ramp the whole time.
I could see though why a ramp would have stairs that convert because you're wheeling something.
Oh yeah, makes sense. So then she goes flying.
Yeah, this was the weakest, I think. The
Did you?
CGI of it
Why?
was like,
All she has to do is force push just as she's coming down.
Yeah. What's wrong with that? We
No,
saw them in Clone Wars leaping from building to building.
Oh, totally fine with that. I get it. I loved it. I mean, the CGI of it was like, oh no.
Oh, I thought it
looked
was
bad.
fine. And I looked at it frame by frame to capture this.
I think there are certain things that if they were to happen in real life, we would still think they looked fake because we're not. It's a supernatural thing. We're not. It's not something we normally see.
Sure.
So you have to allow for that too, I guess.
I also noticed she didn't have to go far. He was there knowing where she was going to pop up.
He predicted. He saw what's going on.
She stood up, took a few steps, and there he was.
Yep.
Yeah.
He knew what she was doing.
Yeah.
I loved her.
Yep.
I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this time he pulls out his weapon.
I noticed that. Yeah,
she was willing to wait and talk because of her thing with Anakin.
Yep.
Yeah, she says, I don't have time for this. And he says, this I know. And he's like, because my job now is to let you.
So, yeah.
He doesn't want her to interfere with what's going on over there.
Yep.
And I will say, like, look at this. The same lean as Anakin, right?
A little bit.
Oh, interesting.
Sword back like that.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. Same style or something.
Still more upright. Anakin was definitely leaning in.
True.
Like his momentum was going forward, but it gave me that same kind of vibe too.
He probably uses something more similar to Darth Vader's techniques since he's large physically.
Probably. She has such a stoic, like, peaceful face on her this time beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Just an acceptance of how it goes, what has to happen and stuff. And he's the one that seems a little off this time. He even gets a little bit pushed around.
Yeah.
He has always been kind of like that. Like he never had much time to get into the philosophical parts as much as the staying alive parts.
Sure. All right. So this part where she's like, take your lightsaber. And he's like, nah, I don't need it. I hope there's a little more backstory to this.
I know people want to see him with the lightsaber, but really, I mean, like all the more powerful Jedi tended to use their lightsabers less. If you look back over the prequels and everything, it's like almost like a sign he's even more powerful, that he doesn't need it, or he doesn't rely on it as much.
Right. At first I thought, is he taking some kind of pacifist thing about himself because of the people he's with and all that? But later on he shoots stormtroopers in the face. So
well, now does he have a lightsaber?
No.
Wow.
Did he left it behind when they took him?
He gave it to her before going to
Okay. So now he doesn't have his own. She probably needs it more than him.
She has blasters.
Yeah, she's not good.
But
This is my biggest problem with this episode. They should have given Ezra the lightsaber. Give him the lightsaber. She's proven to be better with the Mandalorian armor and the blasters. Give him the lightsaber. Let him fight. I get that the more powerful Jedi is blah blah. Sure.
I argue against that. She is not proven to be better with the blasters and armor because every time she's getting her butt kicked and then she takes out the lightsaber, she ends the fight quick.
she does do better with the lightsaber.
Always start with the lightsaber. I don't know why she never does. She's
But
like,
she
I'm
mixes
gonna-
them really well here, When she's in the battle, she's doing it, and then she does the flame, and then she does... I would kind of like the mixture. It's kind of neat.
Well, at one point, she has both the lightsaber and a blaster. I'm like, yes, excellent. Finally, someone who knows what to do with the other hand while you're fighting. You can have a blaster, too. How useful is that?
I mean, Ezra was having no problems without the lightsaber. Really.
Yeah, it was cool to see him do that and everything.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense for him. I would have rather seen them, like him take the lightsaber, him use it a bit, she get the gun knocked out of her hand again. He
throws it to her, and then he starts doing this.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Yeah,
but another thing about this too is that he's had to get by without one for so long. Maybe he's really worked on these techniques a lot more.
He might think that he's just really rusty with it. He might think, no, I'm going to hurt myself
Oh.
with that thing because he hasn't practiced at all with it, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, he carries something with him, like a sword or something that, you know.
I don't know. If I could do what he did there, I don't know if I'd worry about having a piece of metal.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, everybody else can do what he. If they're carrying a lightsaber, they can also.
No, but he has been
We find
fighting
out later.
raiders and bandits.
Sure.
And stuff, you know.
So this is where she gets a good elbow right into his stomach. I was like, ooh, that's the first time she actually did anything to him.
And he actually went, ah, like
know.
that. I know. He made a sound.
He looked upset about that.
See, back on Ezra real quick. Ezra was using a blaster in several scenes. That was kind of cool. He picked up one up from the stormtrooper.
Yeah, Baylan looked nervous.
Yeah, a little bit.
Is Ezra not using the lightsaber the thing you were talking about earlier, Mike, about the complaint you had?
Yeah, I
thought that's probably what you were referring to. Yeah.
I'm not too. I love the character, and I love the actor that's playing the older character now, like this little nomad. Yeah. It's very Jesus-esque. Like I like what they're doing with him, but I mean, you got one episode left. Unless you're doing an extra.
I know. If they don't, you have him with a lightsaber in the next one, it'll bother me more.
Yeah, they should have, and maybe not in the next one. Like if they gave it to him now, and there was that whole episode, that whole moment where Sabine comes in and says, "Fuck this, let me do it." Like you suck with it. You haven't, like, that moment of like, "Oh, I'm better with it," or something. He throws it at her because she needs it, or some kind of like Winter Soldier, Captain America against Iron Man kind of thing, where they were throwing the shield back and forth and the saber gets tossed, or something like that, where he is just.
That would be pretty cool.
This was his comeback moment, and all he's doing is force pushing things all over the place, and then he gets force pushed. Like, Ezra, come on.
Yeah, he must have underestimated her.
This moment was cool.
Yeah.
Like, she almost.
But once he knew, after she got her sucker punch over, I don't think that would normally, be that vulnerable to it.
No, it's neat to see the hair get caught, right? And he's like,
that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he's holding right there.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the warlord leader going down.
Yeah, so finally she gets another stab at this guy.
Yeah, it was his heartburn.
Yeah, he's not coming back.
You don't know that's where his heart is.
Such a cool outfit, though. It'd be cool to see cosplayers dressed as these guys.
Oh, yeah. She gets the throat, a stab through, and kicks him. See? People who complain about not dying with a lightsaber, that guy died.
Well, we don't know that.
That's true.
I think
this was neat.
Yeah.
What is the deal on that lightsaber? Look at that.
Oh, it's just because it's moving this way.
It's got a little blur from it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting.
When Ren stopped the blaster pistol.
Yeah.
He's pushing parts of it away. Yeah. And it's like interesting. Yeah.
This was really neat.
Yeah, so this is the part where they're like, okay, now we're going to defeat you, but then the stormtroopers start arriving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they were just typical stormtroopers.
So there's the force push. He rushes her, so she kind of catches him off guard.
Yeah. How great is it at some point in this battle, the wolves found a way into one of those creatures' domes and was hiding out in there?
I noticed that.
It was her original wolf.
Oh, the one that she rode there in?
Yeah. At some point, they were like, they went into the thing as well, and they were hiding out. I thought that was hysterical.
I think it was in there the whole time.
No. I think it was
the one that she rode there on.
Yeah, the one that she rode there on.
I think that's who that is.
Yeah, the guy that comes out with the little turtle guy that comes out with it is the same guy, the first guy she ever met.
So they're like friends.
All right, that downgraded it. I thought they found their way in there because of the battle, and they were like, "I want to hide out."
No, but I like that little wolf is still with them. Does he have a name even? I don't know if he has a name.
So these two go at it again. How many times? It almost feels like a Ventress kind of.
Well, she's doing a better job.
Like attacking and then getting away from each other.
Yeah, she's doing a better job of it.
Yeah.
This time.
Look at that shot. What a shot. Good cap.
Oof.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part where he's like, you can't. Oh, he catches her fist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, you can't defeat me. And she's like, I have to, because she knows what's going on
Yeah.
with Hu Yang coming back. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And after she gets away here, he's probably like, well, I delayed her. Maybe that's enough and I can head on.
Actually, so this is a really interesting moment. He's watching her go away, and he knows where she's going. He knows that she's on her way to defeat his apprentice.
Yeah.
He's good.
But he's got other things. He's got his greater good. He's got to get to.
And then he turns and looks the other direction, and he has to make that decision, right? Yeah. This was a really cool moment.
Yeah.
You can see him. It focuses on him, and he's thinking like,
it's a sacrifice for him. Yeah. You can tell, but it's
he has
one he's willing to
sacrificed
make.
his apprentice for this moment to leave.
Mm-hmm.
He knows what he's doing. Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, he gave the last lesson, right? He said the impatience part. That was his last lesson for the apprentice. So he was like, I'm good.
Here's some close-up of this. This actually, some of the close-ups I've looked at before as well, I don't think those red ribbons are doing anything structural.
Right. That's why I think it's a ceremonial thing or something. It's part of like a spell that the witches are doing. Maybe helping in some way.
On.
Oh, you think maybe the underlying straps came loose, or
yeah, like they've been there. Either they're too fat and they don't fit in it anymore, or they're too thin.
But it kind of matches the red robes that the witches wear, so it makes me think
it's got a very Night Sister-esque feel to it. But then at this fight, when they die, they're not. I don't get the resurrected storm.
No, but it's not all or nothing. It doesn't have to be those. They're only two.
Yeah, I don't think they're resurrected.
Right.
Yeah. It could be some other kind of spell that maybe makes them stronger or helps protect them, gives them a +1 bonus to their attack rolls or something like that.
It might not even be a spell. It could be as simple as like, today you were good warriors. Here's your band of blah, blah, blah. And it's like a little medal, but given by the Night Sisters. And Thrawn, not wanting to mess with the religion or anything, be like, wear the bands or whatever.
They would just do what Rex did and notch on the helmet. They wouldn't, like, the
Night Sisters.
Right, but there's no organization to how the ribbons are wrapped. Like that shoulder pad in the middle guy right there, it looks like those ribbons are wrapped to keep that thing on his arm.
No, it doesn't. Otherwise, it would go over the black.
You can't see it.
I could see it working that way, but to me, the disorganization makes it seem less likely it's functional. I don't know, though. I mean, I could believe either way, but
this was super cool, and my game design brain immediately went to something.
Oh yeah.
Great.
Even the ships have little bases. That are hexagonal shaped.
Yeah, it is. That's pretty cool. And the little pods off to the side.
Yep.
That's funny.
Yeah, this is really cool. You could tell he was in his element here. He was like, okay, strategy, do this and this.
And I love his decision making here because it's not about winning. It's about their bigger picture of what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
We've delayed and this is acceptable losses. Let's go ahead.
I like looking at this picture because I could see, okay, the two blue ones are Ezra and Sabine.
Yeah.
And then, the light yellow one is, of course, Shin. Yeah. And then all the orange are the troopers. And there must be somebody off to the side that's like assigning these colors because...
Oh, it's that droid. You remember when the stormtroopers got out and that one went up above? That droid hovered above?
That makes sense.
That's the recon droid that keeps track of everything and helps coordinate the battlefield.
Well, then they should shoot that droid.
Yeah. It's probably little and stays up real high and while you're doing that.
This little move was so cool. I took a bunch of screenshots to show it.
Wait, go back one. Go back two, I think. The only thing I missed, and I have to watch it again, the only thing I missed in this scene for Thrawn was him to do the thinky thing, where his hand is up and thinking. He's always kind of been like hands behind his back, like very militant. But Thrawn in the he was always pensive on what was going on, and he always had a hand up. And I don't remember seeing him do that in this scene. And this would have been the quintessential chess scene for him to be.
That's more of the afterthought, though, isn't it? Like, how did that happen this way and stuff? He's intense. He's focused.
Now I'm going to be watching for that.
Yeah, I want to rewatch it and see if he does it.
Yeah. So
super cool scene, though.
This little action sequence was so cool. I tried to take a lot of screenshots.
Beskar to the rescue again.
Blocks it right there. She goes for the attack, but she grabs her wrist, and then she flips her. And then just as she's about to get slashed down, right? She gets pulled away by the Force. And
that was
she uses the fire at the same time.
Yes, that was good. I love the combo.
That's the kind of combo I wanted to see more of. Yeah. Of him doing this and then throwing this and throwing the weapon there. Like a lot more of that, but maybe we'll get more of it. Yeah, here's the part where she thinks she's got the upper hand.
Yeah, she's going to make a neat action figure too.
Oh, I know. I can't wait to get those action figures.
Ezra here was funny. This was my favorite part of Ezra.
You want to take?
Oh, now he starts doing. Let's do a dance off, or whatever. His little jokey kind of.
Yeah, but it's Ezra's character. It's Ezra's personality came out for me. Otherwise, it's kind of. Like his voice was spot on, his mannerisms have been really good, but he's
older now, so it's like they're supposed to be a little different, but that definitely was the old Ezra.
He's like, wait, we can talk. This was Ezra, quintessential Ezra.
Don't you want to do this? And she's like, shoot, stop listening to him and just kill him.
Yeah, and now she's. Oh, okay, not yet, but they're about to.
He's like, don't you want to take us prisoner?
Yeah, you can take us prisoner. And his eyes get wide, like, oh,
and I wonder if the actor sat there and watched episodes of Rebels to get those mannerisms down.
I'm sure he did.
His facial expressions and mannerisms are perfect, Ezra.
Yeah. And then, of course, stormtroopers start getting flung around, and you're like, ooh, here he goes.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And then the tide turns.
It's on now.
This was bold.
Yeah, I don't know what she thought she was going to do here. Well, she had a bunch of stormtroopers with her at the time.
Yeah.
Distraction,
She must be thinking, okay, now this is my moment. I have to take this on kind of thing. But Ahsoka never even pulls her lightsabers. Yeah. It's that whole moment again, like from Tales of the Jedi. Not to give too much spoilers from some of those, but she does some moves like this as well. And then shows her a real force push.
Oh, but again, the more powerful you are, the less you need gadgets.
Yeah.
You tell me those ribbons aren't holding that thing on his back? They're not there to hold it back on him. Come on.
Those are ribbons of shame.
You can see it's not going right here. It's wrapping around the white.
The back plate. It's going around the back plate to keep
exactly,
the thing on
which would not hold it on. That's holding it on. See how it's going over the black?
I don't know.
I'm saying the ribbon is holding the back of the pack on.
No.
The communication pack or whatever
loose.
That is.
That wouldn't hold it on. No.
I don't know. There could be some binding aspects in some of the pieces, but there's definitely something ceremonial or symbolic or ritualistic.
I think it's more symbolic.
It could be.
And then, this is the moment where I'm like, oh, he's not being pacifist because he just grabs that guy's blaster and starts shooting people in the face.
Yeah. I didn't ever get the impression he was being pacifist.
I like that she used a little missile from her armband and blows them up.
Yeah.
That looked bigger than I remembered.
This part made me think of our role-playing game because when we play with the little miniatures on the board and they get wounded, you put little red discs on them and orange discs to show, and this is exactly they've marked all the red ones are the
interesting
down.
Yeah.
And this is where he's like, well, I guess we lost. Call him back because he can see
acceptable losses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now there's 3 blue to their 1 yellow. He was upset that Baylan didn't show up.
Yeah, he was like, "Where's Baylan?"
Now this, he's showing the inventory, all the
Okay.
caskets.
Right.
And I counted them. There's 54 of them.
You counted?
54.
I counted.
Yeah.
So
Now we don't know if this is the only bay, though.
That's what I was about
Could be
to
other
say.
bays.
Could be this is the last bay to fill up. So if
I want
later
to
on we
translate
see-
that text. Okay, that says Ardo. Okay, so CARG
cargo.
cargo LOAD
Loading.
load. Cargo load 814.
Huh.
Hmm.
Well, that doesn't tell us what it is.
Cargo
Well, it
load
does,
814.
it does.
Yeah.
That could be one bay of many on the ship.
Well,
That's
yeah,
true.
but it I'm sure there are many more bays, but are they bays being used in this way?
But at some point, whenever we see what this purpose is, which I don't think we'll see in this
Yeah.
season.
I get the impression, though, this is right. This is how many there are, because I think just visually they know the audience is going to all freeze frame and
You
think
saw
about all
how
this
fast
stuff.
they were walking with each one, right? He
Yeah.
said it
Yeah.
would take 3 days to fill up their cargo.
Oh, I
Yeah.
take it back.
They wouldn't
That's a
do-
great point.
Yeah,
There's
they wouldn't
way
do
more than
54.
54. Yeah.
Yeah.
They could have got that in there in an hour.
This is not his grand plan to bring 54 people back to life.
Well, we don't know what the hell these things are, but
I don't
yeah.
even know if this is part of his plan. I think the
Right.
Night Sisters have taken care of him basically this whole time. He's probably also helped them out in whatever regards they wanted. And then their deal to help him out here is you have to take our dead back. And I think they have some plan of their own. That he's
Everybody's
like, all right,
got their own plan.
Right.
It's like Baylan has his plan, Hati has her plan, which is not exactly Baylan's. The Night Sisters have their plan, and Thrawn has his plan. You know.
Yeah.
That's a good point. It could be. It could. Well, then what's? Well, yeah. Then
They're just using each other. You know,
Thrawn's plan
as
is to
needed.
get back and then combine the Shadow Council into a
Right.
bigger force and do something, right?
Now maybe he thinks the Night Sisters' plan is consistent with his, and they can
Yeah, he
continue
might
to work
be able
together.
to use them along, like they can still help each other once they get there, right?
Mm.
So, but yeah,
And then now she knows the jig is up, and it's time
Yeah.
to
Well, for retreat.
skedaddle. And this is the part I think where she thinks of what her master said about patience. I think-
impatience for victory will guarantee defeat.
Right. I think that might be the thing that makes her leave, because otherwise she tends to be gung ho about everything, right?
Right.
So it could be that those words saved her life here.
It also speaks to Thrawn's retreat there too, right? He didn't
Uh-huh.
need victory there. He has the patience for victory by just delaying the time, doing his thing.
Sure. Thrawn is a lot more advanced strategist than Hati.
Yeah.
I really like that Ahsoka is really like, hey, give me your weapon. We can really. She's like,
She
I can
tried.
help you.
It was a good effort. She tried.
She's like, I can help you. That's
And
how
then
fascinating
that's-
would that be?
Maybe that's a little seed that'll mean something later. You never
Yeah.
know.
then you have her running away like Chrysanthemum did in Boba Fett.
Well,
She just turned and ran. Like, nah.
at least she had a wolf to run on.
Sure.
Yeah.
She didn't run into a.
Well, I mean, it would have been suicide to take those 3 on by herself.
Yeah, she's.
I like the Sabine's like, oh, I thought you were dead, and this is the look. She's like, me.
You know what's interesting about this too is she's looking at her and smiling. Sabine probably thinks that she doesn't know what she did.
That's interesting.
And Ahsoka, before her encounter with Anakin, her whatever that was, would not be sitting here so accepting
That's true.
and forgiving.
True.
Her facial expression would have been very different.
I liked her line and missed this reunion.
Yeah.
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 Now this was a I've seen people argue that the last episode, the reunion between Sabine and them, like when they hugged finally, that it felt a little cold. And I could see why they would think that, because I think there's a brother sister relationship thing going on there. And they were trying to make sure everybody knew this was not a romantic, like, oh, we're coming together, oh, big music and stuff kind of thing, you know?
Well, plus Sabine knows that she's keeping things from Ezra right now, too.
Right.
And I think she felt a little awkward about that.
But they've always had that
guilty about
brother sister kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, shot at you, shot at me kind of thing. So it felt right to me because I knew the characters. But I think if you don't know the characters very well, and this is the first time you see it, the whole season is two people trying to come together. And when they do, it felt cold a little bit.
Right.
But whenever this happens, I was like, oh, that's a much warmer kind of hug and stuff. I kind of wish I'd saw just a little bit more of that warmth between them whenever they first saw each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, she's got her hand on his face, looking at him and smiling, and she makes it like she actually laughs out loud and stuff. I really like the whole change of like personality she's had since that moment in episode 5 where she came out as the white, you know, basically.
And this really is the disposition of a Jedi. It's like, it's the same thing we see in Luke at the end of Return of the Jedi. He can laugh, he can hug people, he can smile, but he's not controlled by his passions, but he can enjoy them and be, you know. And that's the same thing with Qui-Gon too. Qui-Gon was had a very compassionate demeanor. He would smile and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean being like a, you know, some kind of, you know, robot or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Same thing with Yoda. Yoda always comes off as being compassionate.
Yeah. And making little jokes and stuff sometimes.
Oh, true. Yeah.
This little scene almost felt a little Ewok-y at the end, like, yay, we won kind of feel, you know?
Yeah, these are my new favorite little aliens in Star Wars. I just love these.
I knew you'd love them. Little puppet.
Oh, there was one scene where the guy opens up the thing, he sticks his little stalks out like this, and then goes whoop, and it goes. And I'm like,
I know.
Man, I don't think I'd be sticking my eye stalks into things out of things like that. They look very vulnerable.
Maybe they grow back.
Oh, hopefully.
But yeah, that's the episode. I really enjoyed a lot of parts of it. I mean, there's a little nuance.
Yeah.
The whole Baylan and Shin thing was probably my favorite part, other than just
there's tons of great stuff in this episode. You know, everyone we went through, all those cool scenes and the action scenes and those Baylan scenes, and it just goes to show that even with all that, you know, the fact that we were like, oh, last episode, this episode of that, we're even better. But that's why I feel like, oh, maybe we're, you know, our gauge is getting off because it's just been so much cool stuff that just having a very good episode, you got to remember it's still very good.
I don't think I felt it because I expected it. Like I kept saying, like, oh, we're
that's what
here.
I mean.
It's got to dip a little bit before it, you know.
Yeah. So. But to me, it's like it's almost like, you know, they could make just documentaries about this planet, and it's just like a Discovery Channel show showing the life forms and everything. No plot, no story. And I would love that. So it's like, while you have this big plot and story going on in Star Wars, you've always kind of got that documentary going in the background of, oh, that's what food looks like on this planet.
Right.
You know, so it's just always provides this extra layer of enjoyment for me, at least.
I mean, it's good world building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, any other?
Predictions. We got to scry. We got to do some scrying on the Scry-fi.
We got to do some predicting.
Now, here's one thing, though. I would say, for me, the thing I didn't like was that we got 2 episodes. Well, before this episode, we had 2 episodes left. And there's this big mystery about what Baylan is going toward. So I was kind of hoping we'd see it in this episode, and then there'd be 2 episodes of dealing with and things happening with it. Unfortunately, because we still haven't seen what Baylan is going toward, it means that the thing is going to have 1 episode to resolve itself. And for something so amazing of what he was talking about, or so mysterious, it seems like I wanted to have at least 2 episodes of interacting with or dealing with whatever this power is that he's.
I think it gives me hope because it means that there's going to be a second season.
Well, yeah, but they got better do
gonna,
something about Baylan because the actor.
I think it's going to show him trigger something, and you'll be like, "Oh, what is that?" And then,
well, hopefully it's not a total cliffhanger. Hopefully, it has some kind of feeling of
but
completion.
They can't wrap up Thrawn. It's not like Thrawn.
No, I don't expect him to wrap up Thrawn. He can continue fine, but I want to know. I want something more of a arc going on with Baylan. You know.
Well, unfortunately, we know that the actor can't come back for another season because he passed, and that's
somebody posted another actor, and it's an actor I've seen before in other stuff, but he looks like if you put the beard on him and everything, he could totally pass. So
yeah,
who knows?
Whatever, we don't know what this is at the end. Maybe it transforms him into a Jedi ghost that can be here, and he could look different or something. You know, who knows what they're going to do? I don't know, but it's really unfortunate because I love the character and the actor's work, but
the actor is great. What's the actor's name?
Ray Stevenson.
I almost said Sam.
Ray Stevenson. What a great job he did! Just so cool. I wish he could have at least been around longer just to see everyone loving what he did.
Yeah.
There's no way everything gets answered in 1 episode. I think my prediction is that Thrawn bounces and they're stuck. That's where they're going to leave it.
Man, I hope not. I want everybody back in the galaxy, but
they don't have enough time to make that feel right unless they're like stowaways on the ship or they find a way.
They've got to get their ship hooked on the back of the Star Destroyer or falling behind or finding another Purgle or something.
Is the Star Destroyer going or is the ring going?
I bet the Star Destroyer, the ring is going to be the hyperdrive ring for the Star Destroyer.
Right.
That would make sense.
There's a lot of things they need to wrap up in what could be a 45-minute episode.
I don't think they're going to wrap it up.
Can't.
I think they're going to end it.
They're going to wrap up certain things of it and let other things continue on.
I think
if they've already greenlit a season 2 and know they're doing it, but if they don't know,
I think they are.
You need to be able to end the season because if season 2 doesn't happen, like Obi ended. Yeah. If season 2 of Obi never happens, Obi-Wan happened. Obi-Wan.
Right.
That was not intentional. If Ahsoka 2 doesn't happen, Ahsoka 1 happened, there's got to be, what is it going to lead into? What's their Rogue One moment to hope? What's their Andor to Rogue One? Like, what are they going to do?
It's got to be it can have things continue without this feeling of incompletion and cliffhangerness. I don't want to have that necessarily, but I want to have I feel like this was a complete thing and they finished showing us something about Baylan and what he's doing, and yet there's still these other threads that we want to wait and see more.
Yeah,
it could lean into the film. Maybe there isn't an Ahsoka 2. Maybe it's going to be a Thrawn film, and they're going to try and thwart what he's doing.
Do we know if Filoni is doing a film? Is he?
Filoni is doing a film. I don't think
so. We know that.
But I think it's the Mandalorian film.
I think it's the Mandalorian-verse. I think it's bringing them all together.
The Filoni verse. This whole little time period with all these. Yeah.
It's supposed to have them all. The rumor is it's supposed to have them all on screen. So Mando, Ahsoka, Boba, like all of those things.
That probably means Thrawn then.
Yeah.
I guess it. Yeah.
Because what is it? What he comes back to this galaxy, right? To what? If this never happens, what is he leading into? There's no mention of him in the prequels. Sequels. He's not mentioned, right? There's none of that.
So it's all got to be taken care of. But yeah, remember though that the amount of time between the episode between Return of the Jedi and the sequels is so great. You could have like 3 trilogies of things happen in that
it's like
time
20
span.
years or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. But they're also now focusing on the next Rey trilogy that they're doing, and a trilogy in between Return and New and
They're always throwing out these, plans, but we'll see what actually comes from. I really hope they do the Lando movie. Well, it's going to be a show. I think it's going to be a movie now.
Yeah.
But that's oh man, that's really cool. I thought then is it Glover?
Yeah. Glover.
Yeah. Donald Glover.
Donald Glover. That he
Or
did a great job. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he did a great job as Lando. So I want to see more of that.
All right. Well, we'll wrap this episode up and tell us what you think is going to happen next. Give us some comments. Give us some likes, all that stuff. And thanks for watching, everybody.
Good talk, guys.
Yep. Thanks.